while I'm downstairs." Koska glanced round approvingly at the crumbling hall. "A nice place for a warm welcome. I'll let you know when our guests have been. I doubt they'll stay long." Ardy had found a place near the wall, her hood up, her eyes on the floor. Trying to fade into the plaster, and who could blame her? Hardly the most pleasant company for a young woman, or the most reassuring setting, but better than a slit throat, I suppose. Glockter held his hand out to her. "It would be best if you were to come with me." She hesitated, as though not entirely sure that it would in fact be best to come with me. But a brief glance at some of the ugliest men in one of the world's ugliest professions evidently persuaded her. Koska handed her his lamp, making sure his fingers lingered on hers for an uncomfortably long moment. "Thank you," she said, jerking her hand away. "My particular pleasure." Sheets of hanging paper, broken laths, lumps of fallen plaster cast strange shadows as they left Koska and his thugs behind and picked their way into the guts of the dead building. Doorways passed by, squares of blackness yawning like graves. "Your friends seem a charming crowd," murmured Ardy. "Oh, indeed, the brightest stars in the social firmament. Some tasks demand desperate men, apparently." "You must have some truly desperate work in mind, then." "When don't I?" Their lamp barely lit the rotting drawing-room, panelling sagging from the cheap brickwork, the best part of the floor a single festering puddle. The hidden door stood open in the far wall, and Glockter shuffled round the edge of the room towards it, his hips burning with the effort. "What did your man do?" "Severard. He let me down. And we will soon find out how badly." "I hope I never let you down, then." "You, I am sure, have better sense. I should go first, then if I fall, at least I fall alone." He winced his way down the steps while she followed with the light. "Ugh! What's that smell?" "The sewers. There's an entrance to them down here somewhere." Glockter stepped past the heavy door and into the converted wine cellar, the bright steel grills on the cells to either side glimmering as they passed, the whole place reeking of damp and fear. "Superior!" came a voice from the darkness. Brother Longfoot's desperate face appeared, pressed up against one set of bars. "Brother Longfoot, my apologies. I have been so very busy. The Gurkish have laid siege to the city." "Gurkish!" squeaked the man, his eyes bulging. "Please, if you release me—" "Silence!" hissed Glockter, in a voice that brooked no dallying. "You should stay here." Ardy glanced nervously towards the navigator's cell. "Here? He isn't dangerous. I think you'll be more comfortable than you would be." And he nodded his head towards the open doorway at the end of the vaulted hall. "In there." She swallowed. "All right." "Superior, please!" One despairing arm stuck from Longfoot's cell. "Please, when will you release me? Superior, please!" Glockter shut the door on his begging with a gentle click. "We have other business today, and it will not wait." Frost already had Severard manacled to the chair beside the table, still unconscious, and was lighting the lamps one by one with a flaming taper. The domed chamber gradually grew bright, the colour leaking into the mural across the round walls. Canadius frowned down, arms outstretched, the fire burning behind him. "Ah, our old friend the Master-Maker, always disapproving." Opposite him, his brother Juven still bled his lurid last across the wall. "And not the only blood that will be spilled in here tonight, I suspect." "Ah!" groaned Severard, his lank hair swaying. Glockter lowered himself slowly into his chair, the leather creaking under him. Severard grunted again, His head dropped back, eyelids flickering. Frost lumbered over, reached out and undid the buckles on Severard's mask, pulled it off, and tossed it away into the corner of the room. From a fearsome practical of the Inquisition to nothing much. He stirred, wrinkled his nose, twitching like a boy asleep. Young, weak, helpless. One could almost feel sorry for him, if one had a heart. But now is not the time for sentiment and soft feelings, for friendship and forgiveness. The ghost of happy and promising Colonel Sandan Glockter has been clinging to me for far too long. Farewell, my old friend. You cannot help us today. Now is the time for the ruthless superior Glockter to do what he does best, to do the only thing that he does well. Now is the time for hard heads, hard hearts, and even harder edges. Time to cut the truth out. Frost jabbed Severard in the stomach with 2 fingers, and his eyes snapped open. He jerked in his chair, the manacles rattling. He saw Glockter. He saw Frost. His eyes went wide as they darted round the room. They went wider still when he realized where he was. He snorted in air, the quick, hard breath of abject terror, the greasy strands of hair across his face, blowing this way and that with the force of it. And how will we begin? "I know," he croaked. "I know. I told that woman who you were. I know, but I had no choice." Ah, the wheedling. Every man, more or less, behaves the same way when he's chained to a chair. "What could I do? She would have fucking killed me. I had no choice. Please." "I know what you told her, and I know you had no choice." Then why?" "Don't give me that, Severard. You know why you're here." Frost stepped forward, as impassive as ever, and lifted the lid on Glockter's wonderful case. The trays inside opened up like an exotic flower, proffering out the polished handles, the gleaming needles, the shining blades of his instruments. Glockter puffed out his cheeks. "I had a good day today. I woke up clean and made it to the bath on my own. Not too much pain." He wrapped his fingers around the grip of the cleaver. "Something to celebrate, a good day. I get so very few of them." He slid it from its sheath, the heavy blade flashing in the harsh lamplight. Severard's eyes followed it all the way, bulging with fear and fascination, beads of sweat glittering on his pale forehead. "No," he whispered. "Yes." Frost unlocked the cuff around Severard's left wrist, lifted his arm in both meaty hands. He took the fingers and spread them out one by one until they were flattened on the wood in front of him, wrapping his other arm around Severard's shoulders in a tight embrace. "I think we can dispense with the preamble." Glockter rocked forward, got up, and limped slowly around the table, his cane clicking on the tiles, his left leg dragging behind it, the corner of the cleaver's blade scraping gently across the wood of the tabletop. "I need not explain how this will work to you. You have assisted me so very ably on so very many occasions. Who could know better how we will proceed?" "No," whimpered Severard, trying half a desperate smile, but with a tear leaking from the corner of his eye nonetheless. "No, you wouldn't. Not to me. You wouldn't." "Not to you." Glockter gave a sad smile of his own. "Oh, practical Severard, please." He let the grin slowly fade as he lifted the cleaver. "You know me so much better than that." Bang! The heavy blade flashed down and hacked into the tabletop, paring the slightest sliver of skin from the end of Severard's middle finger. "No!" he squawked. "No!" "You don't admire my precision any longer, then?" "Oh, yes, yes." Glockter tugged at the smooth handle and dragged the blade free. "How did you think this would end? You've been talking. You've been saying things you shouldn't, to people you had no business saying anything to. You will tell me what. You will tell me who." The cleaver glimmered as he raised it again. "And you had better tell me soon." "No!" Severard thrashed and wriggled in the chair, but Frost had him as tightly as a fly in honey. "Yes." The blade sliced cleanly through the end of Severard's middle finger and took it off at the first joint. The end of his index finger spun across the wood. The tip of his ring finger stayed where it was, wedged into a joint in the tabletop. With Frost's hand still clamped tight as a vice round his wrist, the blood only dribbled gently from the 3 wounds and spread out in slow rivulets down the grain. There was a breathless pause. 1, 2, 3. Severard screamed. He wailed and jerked and trembled, his face quivering. "Painful, eh? Welcome to my world." Glockter worked his aching foot around in his boot. "Who would ever have thought that our charming association, so enjoyable and profitable to us both, could possibly end like this? Not my choice, not mine. Tell me who you spoke to. Tell me what you said. Then this unpleasantness will all be over. Otherwise—" Bang! The end of his little finger now, and 3 more pieces of the rest. His middle finger was down to the knuckle almost. Severard stared, his eyes wide with horror, his breath coming in short, fast gasps. Shock, amazement, stunned terror. Glockter leaned down to his ear. "I hope you weren't planning to take up the violin, Severard. You'll be lucky if you can play a fucking gong by the time we're done here." He winced at a spasm in his neck as he lifted the cleaver again. "Wait!" sobbed Severard. "Wait! Valent and Bog, the bankers. I told them. "I knew it." "What did you tell them?" "That you were still looking for Reinald's murderer when we'd already hung the Empress emissary." Glockter met Frost's eyes, and the albino stared back, emotionless. "And another secret is dragged kicking into the merciless light. How disappointingly right I was. It always amazes me how swiftly problems can be solved once you start cutting things off people." And I told them that you wanted to know about our bastard king and about Byers. And I told them you weren't checking up on Salt like they asked. And I told them. Severard stuttered to a halt, staring at the remains of his fingers scattered out across the table in a spreading slick of blood. That mixture of unbearable pain, even more unbearable loss, and total disbelief. Am I dreaming, or have I really lost half my fingers forever? Glockter nudged Severard with the end of the cleaver. "What else?" "I told them anything I could. I told them everything I knew." The words came spitting and drooling from his lips, curled back with agony. "I had no choice. I had debts, and they offered to pay. I had no choice." Valent and bulk, debts and blackmail and betrayal. How horribly banal it all is. That's the trouble with answers. They're never as exciting as the questions, somehow. Glockter's lips twitched into a sad smile. "No choice. I know exactly how you feel." He lifted the cleaver again. But, bang! The heavy blade scraped against the tabletop as Glockter swept 4 more neat slices of flesh carefully out of the way. Severard screamed and gasped and screamed some more. Desperate, slobbering screams, his face screwed up tight. Just like the prunes I sometimes have for breakfast. He still had half his little finger, but the other 3 were nothing more than oozing stumps. But we cannot stop now, not after we have come so far. We cannot stop for anything, can we? We must know it all. "What about the Arch-Lector?" asked Glockter, stretching his neck to the side and working his stiff shoulder. "How did he know what went on in Dgothka? What did you tell him?"
"How did he? What? I told him nothing! I told him—"
Bang! Severad's thumb flew off, spinning across the table, leaving behind a spiraling trail of bloody spots. Glockter worked his hips back and forth, trying to wriggle out of the aches down his legs, the aches up his back. But there is no escaping them. Every possible position a little worse than the one before. "What did you tell Salt?"
I